how far would you be willing to go to survive? What are the risks you're willing to take? What are you willing to believe in? What are you willing to sacrifice in order to live? Kristen here, and today we are talking about Netflix's The Midnight Club. This is a new series from the genius mind that is Mike Flanagan, based off of the book by Christopher Pike, another icon in the thriller space. The Midnight Club, I would say, is very much like Red Band Society meets Are You Afraid of the Dark, in that we are following a group of young people who are terminally ill, living at a hospice, and they meet up at midnight to tell scary stories and look for signs of the supernatural from the beyond. We're brought into this story through the eyes of Ilanka, who is a girl who had all these plans for the future. She might have grown up in the foster care system. She might have struggled in her life, but she's always persevered and worked really hard. She got into her dream college. Now she can't go because she's come down with this terminal illness. But she finds out about this hospice called Brightcliff, where there's a story of a young woman who went into the hospice with a terminal illness and somehow managed to leave completely healed. And so she has this idea that there's something going on there. There's something magical there. And that's her main goal, is that she wants to find a way to cure herself through whatever happens at this Brightcliff hospice. There are, some spooky ghosts. There's these stories. There's people kind of feeling like they've been transported to different times. There's this cult. And it also brings up these ideas of, did this young woman really get healed by something in this hospice? Is there really healing properties on these grounds? Or was it just a fluke? Was it just a mistake that, the doctors read the tests wrong, And so I think that's a really interesting concept to bring up, because it's basically saying, are there these magical, mystical, supernatural things, or are there, more logical explanations for them? And at the same time, how far would you be willing to go to survive? What are the risks you're willing to take and the boundaries you're willing to cross to save yourself and the people around you? What are you willing to believe in? What are you willing to sacrifice in order to live? The cast that we're introduced to in the show is very diverse in terms of race and sexuality and even disability. But at times it does feel a little bit stereotypical, and also like we're introduced to this group that's an ensemble, and they're not necessarily all treated as an ensemble. So for instance, even though Ilanka is our main character, the story really focuses on her and Kevin, her will they, won't they love interest throughout the season. You have Anya, who does play a very large role. And then I'll be honest, I feel like the rest of the members of this Midnight Club, Spence, Natsuki, Sandra, Amesh, and Cherie, really kind of fall to the wayside. They don't really explore their stories as deeply as they could. I think the character Cherie especially, she doesn't even tell a story, and so it just felt like you're introducing us to this big group and you're not really giving everybody the time. I think what would have made a little bit more sense, especially if you're really trying to highlight everyone, is give each character an episode that explains about them while also having them tell a story that reflects what they're dealing with as well. And then you can have that overarching story of the cult and healing and all that stuff going on throughout the season as well. I just thought that they gave us all these interesting actors and then didn't dive deep enough into each character. And I just thought that that did a disservice to the stories that they're telling here. You do get to see a lot of popular Mike Flanagan players show up in this season, whether they be characters that actually help the story move forward or being characters in the stories that they're telling, which I thought was really fun. The show has been touted as a horror show, and I would say it's less of that and leans more into a thriller mystery, and then tackles a lot of different genres through the stories that they tell.
I'm calling this one The Wicked Heart.
And what's really cool is that the stories that each of these characters are telling are actually different Christopher Pike novels, so they get to dive into a lot of different genres, from romance to detective noir to sci-fi, and have the actors who are playing our main group that are living at the hospice also tackle different types of roles through the stories that they're telling, because they get to act those out as well. And I gotta say, this might just be me, but I really thought that this was a limited series, and it turned out That has to be wrong, because the way the season ends, there is a lot more questions and mystery and story to be told, especially around the cult, especially around these mysterious ghosts that we feel are haunting some of our characters. So I'm curious if the show will get a second season, because I feel like there's still so much we need to know. I would say overall, I did enjoy the mystery and kind of like the stakes that were going on in the show. While I love Mike Flanagan and all the Easter eggs and everything that he puts into his work, The Haunting of Hill House is still like my peak, but I did really enjoy Midnight Club, especially because I wasn't really a huge fan of Bly Manor or Midnight Mass. So I thought that this show had a lot of potential, and I loved how they were able to take even more of Christopher Pike's work and kind of infuse it into the show through different mysteries, through the way that they're telling different stories. That was really awesome. The one thing that was really missing for me was that ensemble. If this show does get another season, I would love to see them explore each character a little bit deeper, as well as this big mystery, because I thought, we're gonna find out all these big secrets by the end of the season, and obviously they have more story to tell. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Midnight Club. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Make sure to let me know what you're thinking. And did you catch any Easter eggs? I know they got that Oculus mirror up in there. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and if you want to talk more TV and movies with me outside of the comment section, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/kmaldo. If you like this one, you can check out more of my videos right over here. See ya!